Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to, I was going to say 2018, 2019. Welcome, welcome. I hope you have plans for this year. I sure do. And I'm really excited about them. Like my head's in constant overdrive right now. But yeah, I am really looking forward to this year. I know a lot of people were like 2018 was so hard, and it was not an easy ride for me as well. But if you follow my videos, you know I'll constantly say it's been a ride, but it was worth it. So much growth. So thankful. So let's see what 2019 has in store, and see where we are at the end of this year. Okay, so today I want to talk about beta readers. And for those of you who don't know what those are, beta readers are when you write short stories, novels, whatever. It could be nonfiction, could be blog posts, whatever. These are the people, they're not your official editors, but these are the people you share your work with to see whether your writing is up to speed, whether you're telling a good story, whether it's good enough, whether it's worth pursuing, whether it's worth putting the time into it. So you could say it's one of the first, it's the group of people you first show your work with when you're at that time, like when you reach that point in your writing, like you finish the manuscript, or maybe you're stuck and that's why you need outside opinions. It's that time when you're not ready yet to put it out there, or to hire an editor, or to contact an agent. You just want to know if your writing is doing what it's supposed to be doing, whether you're wasting your time or not. And of course, this is not like just disclaimer at the beginning. There are so many people who write just for themselves, and if it is never your intention to get an audience, if you just write for yourself for whatever reasons, don't bother. Don't feel the need to push yourself out of that comfort zone. Like, this is specifically for people who do want to get an audience at some point, but how do you start? Like, who do you start? Well, you start with your beta readers. And the reason I want to bring this up is because the last few coaching clients that I had, most of them, if not, no, not all of them, but most of them had never shared their writing with anyone. And some of them did in the past, but haven't shared their recent work. And of course, that makes all the sense, because we all suffer. Maybe not all, but most of us suffer from imposter syndrome, the belief that our writing will never be good enough. We're afraid to have somebody tell us, okay, yeah, I wrote your story, that sucked, you suck. That's exactly what we're afraid of. That is, however, not an excuse not to share your writing with the world. And I'll tell you what, and I have this big list of things I want to get through, so bear with me if I have I'm exactly on my own schedule. Okay, so personal story. I was always a writer. Like many of us, I started writing when I was really young. Wasn't really a serious thing. You just wrote down made up stories in like your little notebooks, or you wrote them in the margins of your schoolwork. I tend to draw, or I used to draw like cartoons of our cats, stuff like that, next to other stories that I wrote. But it was never a serious thing. And it was definitely a thing I was hiding from the world. Like I've mentioned that before, I'm sure that for me, a writing time was the summer. And Christmas holidays. That for me was writing time, because that was the time where I can sort of lock myself up in my room with my computer and just type the words, do my research. And in between those periods, I just never really, sometimes I had like a bit of inspiration and I sat down and write a little bit, or wrote a little bit, but usually I wasn't taken seriously, because I was assuming nobody ever wanted to read it. And then I had this friend, and it turned out that this friend was going through the exact same thing. And I can't remember how we got to that point. But we know each other from our studies, so English literature. So I'm guessing we at one point were talking about a book or something, and then we're talking about about writing the process, or somehow we admitted to each other that we both wrote, and not just for fun. We were both working on a serious project, like a proper novel, and nobody knew. Nobody ever read any of it. And then we decided, we were both very reluctant, but we were like, okay, maybe you need to show me what you've got this far, and then I'll show you what I've got this far. And that was the most terrifying period of my life. Like for years, I'd been working on the same 7 chapters of a young adult urban fantasy project, and I just kept rewriting the first 7 chapters. Like maybe I wrote like half a scene every time I dealt. And do remember, like I wrote in summer and on Christmas. So that's what I was doing. Like I just rewrote the whole thing, maybe did a little research, but I never really got until, like, I never started chapter 8. So I read her stuff, she read my stuff, and then we met up, and we were like, both of us were like, you need to do this. Like you need to, I'm not saying you need to like quit your day job and start writing it, but you need to finish this project because this is promising stuff. Plenty of room for improvement, but intriguing. So do something with it. And that's when we decided to help each other in the process. So we started meeting up every few weeks, and then one week, one meeting, I would send her stuff, mine, and she would read that and comment on it. And then the next meeting, she would have sent me stuff of her, and then I would read that and comment on that. So that's also how for me, it's how I got to finish my manuscript, because suddenly I had someone reading along with me who was waiting for the work, and also someone who was enjoying the work. So why for me it's an issue when people are not sharing their work. It is precisely because that sharing can be very motivating, especially when you find someone who is in the same phase of their writing, and you can use each other as a way of forcing yourself to get the story out there. So I finished that book is nowhere near finished, but I finished the first draft of that story. I'm currently on the 5th draft of that story, mind you. It's a big project. But I've started on the first draft of the 2nd book in the series. And I would have never done that. And people tell me I'm way too slow. I'm quite a slow writer. People tell me I'm way too slow, but I'm like, a couple of years ago, nobody knew I was writing. That was just something I did. Like I was a closeted writer. But now I have so many words. Like I wrote, as I said, like I had those 7 chapters. Now I have, in that particular project, in that particular world, how much will it be? About 70 chapters I've done now for both books. So that's like 10 times as much. And I would never have done that if I hadn't like taken the leap of sharing the work. And yes, it was absolutely terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And that's one of the reasons. And I know, like, and I ask my clients, so why don't you share your writing with someone? And I know the answer. As I said, like, we're all imposters. We're all afraid someone will come up, show up out of the blue, and will tell us, you need to stop doing this. You're not doing anyone a favor. So for me, what I wanted to say about that is that, first of all, if that is the case, if that is the feedback you get, and not just from one person, I'll talk a little bit about that, like you need multiple beta readers. If this is the feedback you get on and on, wouldn't it be good to know? Wouldn't it be good to know that, you know, you can have your writing as a hobby, but it's really not good enough to share with the world? I mean, I know it sounds very harsh, but wouldn't it be nice to know that? that is a dream that you can cross off your list. It's not going to happen. Doesn't mean you have to quit writing. Like, as I said, like in my disclaimer, we all think that once you write, you need to share it with the world. That is not the case. Absolutely not. There are things, I write things that have nothing to do with this project or my other project that I just write for myself. And I know nobody's ever going to see them. You know, maybe just in case I get really, really famous and people will find it, they'll probably publish it and interpret it in whatever way. But there's some of that I'm not really, it's not intended for the public eye, and that's fine. Doesn't say you cannot have writing as a hobby. Absolutely not. But if you're not a storyteller, wouldn't you rather know? Let that sink in for a bit. I know that's really hard, and you really do. That's one of the reasons people don't take jumps, because they don't want their dreams to be shattered. But some dreams need to be shattered. Like I always thought I was going to be an academic and a professor. No way. No, that dream got shattered. But actually, I'm really happy where I am now, because knowing that that wasn't in the cards for me forced me to reconsider my options. And one of the things I learned was that one of the reasons I wanted to be in the academia is because it was the only thing I knew. So it was never really my dream. It was always just a dream that I had because it was part of the process. You know, if you're in academia, this is what you do. So having that dream shattered made me realize it was never the dream to begin with for me. So that's very personal, of course. But either way, and I also have, because of course, that's not the only reason. Like, you need to share your work with beta readers just to find out whether you can write or not. The other thing is that whatever they have to say, it will always be feedback. Everything is feedback. Cheers are feedback. Very critical comments, they're all feedback. So what you're doing basically, if you want to skip this part of the process, you're, how do I say that? You keep yourself from having the opportunity to share your work with people of your choosing, who will then give you feedback that will help you improve your work for free. That's all. The only thing I want to say about that. This is your chance to get free. And I know there are paid beta readers out there. I know there are. And I'll talk a little bit about how to, like, where to find beta readers in a bit. But don't do it. Don't like give yourself that opportunity to improve your work. And I know it's scary. I know it is. And I can tell you now, I'm working on a romance project right now with a co-writer. And the deadline for our beta readers is the 14th of January. And we got our first one back last week. And it was very, like, the accompanying email, very positive, very positive. But then I opened the document and there were so many track changes. Like, this beta reader had done so much work, and I saw that, and the first thing I thought was, so many comments, we suck. So even like, I mean, I'm an editor, like, I edit for a living, and I know that the amount of comments says nothing. Mostly what a lot of comments say is that, and I tell this to my students, I tell this to my editing clients, the better developed the project, the more in-depth I can give my comments. So the more comments I have, mostly it means that there is more of a story to work from. So you're doing a really good job. If there is no story for me to edit, if there's no, or an essay, there will be very little for me to say. So the more comments you get, often it means that you're doing the right thing. But even me, like, so to answer that question, yes, even for me, it's always scary. It's always, because you want your work, you want readers to really appreciate your work. And that was a funny thing, like, we had such a positive, the general email was very positive, but she just had a lot of inline comments. to improve it. And that's the thing. It's there to improve your craft. It's not to tell you that you suck as a writer, that you shouldn't quit your day job. These people are doing this so you can improve your work. And be honest, have you ever read a book and you were like, no, there's absolutely nothing that I would not change. Like, I'm fine. This is like the perfect book. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Especially if you reread books, you'll notice, yeah, you know, language here. Oh yeah, this storyline, a little too elaborate. I would have cut that. That's the exact same process that beta reading is. It'll tell you where you can tighten your story. And yes, that's always a scary process. Okay. Where am I? Oh yeah. So one of the things I already mentioned is because what I ask my clients, okay, so why aren't you sharing your work with people? And then they will admit that at some point one friend maybe read it, and they had a few comments, or maybe not. Well, that's a scary thing, or not a scary thing. It's taking a jump is scary. This is a tricky thing, because most of my beta readers are my friends, but they are my critical reader friends. So I know that they are that they won't let me get away with too much. Okay, so they're very critical people. So I'm not against. I know some people say don't ask your friends. Family is different. Family is different. Unless you have a very critical reader in your family, but a family often have more difficult time to give you constructive feedback on your work for whatever reason. But if you have a few critical readers in your in the genre that you're writing in, please feel free to ask them to do this. Okay, so but why the multiple? Why? Because when people tell me, yeah, I have a friend who reads it and who comments, one opinion doesn't count. Two opinions also doesn't really count. I don't know if you've read Stephen King's On Writing, A Memoir of the Craft. I'll wave it around, as you know I love doing. Really an excellent book. I absolutely recommend it. And what he actually recommends, I got it here. So what does he say? Yeah, so he says, I usually send manuscripts to between 4 and 8 other people. And then of course the first, he has his first reader, his wife is his first reader. But then he sends it to 4 to 8 other people. I always aim for 5 to 6. You don't want to go overboard, like you don't want to have 10 or 20 people comment, because you don't want to invite overwhelm. But there is a reason why you need more than just one person, and that is, well, as I said, one opinion doesn't stand. Like if you ask one person about a particular film that you've seen, they'll have an opinion. If you ask 2, they might share the same opinion. The more people you ask, the more nuance will arrive, and people who disagree with each other. And that's the thing. And that's also what Stephen King says. He says you ask a few people and you pick them, and you can pick them in your online writing groups. They can be your critical friends, so they can be people you know personally. They can also be people you know online. They can also be, sometimes it feels better to pick someone you don't really know. You just know them from an online group, but you do know that they have experience beta reading. So that works as well, whatever works for you. But what he says, and I'm going to read that out, like the reason you need multiple people is because then you'll realize, okay, so some people will like it and some people don't. So what happens then if they disagree? Like what if you send it to 3 people or 6 people and 3 of them like it and 3 of them don't? And I love this bit of advice, so I'm going to read this to you. For those of you who have this copy. So this is like the 10th anniversary copy or something. What does it say? Yeah, the 10th. This is the 10th anniversary edition. So it's on page 216. So he says, when you give out 6 or 8 copies of a book, you get back 6 or 8 highly subjective opinions about what's good and what's bad in it. If all your readers think you did a pretty good job, you probably did. This sort of unanimity does happen, but it's rare, even with friends. More likely, they'll think that some parts are good and some parts are, well, not so good. Some will feel character A works, but character B is far-fetched. If others feel that character B is believable, but character A is overdrawn, it's a wash. And remember this, because this is amazing advice. You can safely relax and leave things the way they are. In baseball, tie goes to the runner. For novelists, it goes to the writer. If some people love your ending and others hate it, same deal. It's a wash, and tie goes to the writer. So this is the other reason why you need multiple readers, because what doesn't work for this one friend that you picked might work for someone else, and something your one friend might not have picked up on might be picked up on by 2 or 3 other people, and you might actually want to consider that, to change that or to alternate that or whatever, or maybe to leave it out altogether. So this is why you need multiple people, and if they disagree, it's a wash. You get to decide. And this is another thing, of course, you don't have to agree with your beta readers, but if all of them, or 5 out of 6, tell you, this might be problematic, you sit down with that and consider whether they have a point. Even then, if that is the story you want to tell, you are the writer. It's your story, so don't worry about that. In the end, like it's your say. Like in the end, so don't be too scared to just do what you want to do, but do invite multiple people so you get multiple opinions and then pick. But in the end, and that's I think that's one of the reasons why people are afraid of beta readers, is because they forget that they are the writers. The story is theirs, so you can decide for yourself what you're going to do with it. Okay. Yes, where to find them? As I said, you have your online and your offline writing groups. You have specific Facebook groups for beta readers. So just go to Facebook and just put in beta readers. Maybe beta and the genre that you write in. For example, romance, fantasy, epic fantasy, urban fantasy, young adult, whatever, historical novels, literature. Look at that. Your own friends. Critical readers, like I have many, like a lot of my friends are former, I know from university, so they're all very critical readers. So they make excellent beta readers, and it's great because they now read multiple works. So they also see what works in the first one and doesn't work in the next one, or whether the series as a whole works. So if you find these people who will stick with you, if you have like your select group, Stephen King is like a very select group, that's perfect. But start off with a few people. So that's another thing. Like if you feel like someone gives you really rubbish advice that's really not constructive, don't ask them again. It's okay. Feel free as well. Look at it. Take it seriously, sit with it, move it away, move it aside, don't interact with it. Not everyone knows how to do a beta read. So that is one of the other points I wanted to make. So what do you ask your beta readers? That really depends on what you need. Like I tend to, depending on the project, I have a whole list of questions. But mostly I ask, does it work? Where does it not work? Were there any points in the story that you felt you could like put it aside? Were there moments you didn't pick it up again? How are the characters? Anyone stood out in particular? For what reason? Anything really. And that's another thing, is that not every beta reader will give you the same feedback. So some will give you like very close reading inline comments. Some will just send you an email saying, this was terrific, I didn't like that thing in that chapter, good work, looking forward to the next book. That could be it. And sometimes it's endless lists of comments and whatever. So also don't expect every beta reader to provide you with the same thing, but do ask them particular questions that they can keep in mind while reading the book, and ask them to answer. these questions as well. And then that's one, like, oh, what does it look like? This is what it looks. It can look like anything. Some people just go like, yeah, this was nice, thank you, good job. Don't ask them again, because clearly they don't have it in that. They're not the reader that you're looking for. You will find some people read your book, but not with that much attention. Don't feel the need to ask them again. But if you find someone who works for you, and I'll show you, and it's getting dark out, as you can see, like my video is getting darker. Winter in the Netherlands. I wanted to show you some of the stuff, like, so how do I process my beta readers? So this is the manuscript of my first young adult urban fantasy novel, and this was the second draft. I'm on my 5th draft right now, but I just wanted to show you that just some different stuff. So I had a friend. So if you ever want to know how I process my comments and my beta readers, all the different colors are different individuals. And I have this yellow one, for example, was a friend who just wrote a very long email per chapter. Per chapter, she had like, I love this, I hated this, I hated that, and she had a really good point. But I really like, so I have people going here like, this really works. I really felt it, like I felt the hurt. And you can also see like, so I'm very much color coding. So the pink stuff I deleted because of the comments my friend in the pink did. And that's actually, it's funny because she's my cheerleader reader. She's usually very, you know, very, very supportive of what I'm writing. But she was very critical there, so it's really good. I also had like one friend who copied the book, like, or she printed it at work, don't tell anyone. So she put in her own notes, and I just sort of like grabbed the notes and put them in my own version. Because yeah, I really wanted them all together. And yeah, this looks like a mess. So this was my Camp NaNoWriMo project last year, to get the 4th draft done. So that is what it looks like. And as you go through that, you'll see that you know where to cut. I'm just gonna look if I have a really, really bad page, just to show you that it's not, it's all part of the process. It's all bad. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly, just something. See, I also have imposter syndrome, so I just want to show you that I struggle as well. Well, this one's particularly, as you can see, I rewrote most of this. So the different colors are for different individuals. So this is what it looks like, and I've been talking for almost half an hour. But yeah, I really think, and I'm not saying that this is an easy project, because it's not. It's always scary. It is for me. During this summer, this book was, the 4th draft was away. And I got the comments back, and I haven't looked at them yet, also because I didn't have time. And I know that the moment I'll make the time to sit with it and start that 5th draft, I'll have to take a really deep breath and see what they made of it now, and whether they like it. So even though I know that I have a few fans already, like some of my readers have become, beta readers have become real fans of the world I'm building, I'm still scared for that one person saying, nah, don't do it. Don't waste your time. So that's just part of it. But do it anyway, because it is, I'll promise you, for whatever shows up is worth it. Either, you know, you learn about your writing, and otherwise you'll get the feedback you need to build better stories and to grow in your craft. And I think that's one of the main reasons, well, not main reasons, but it's actually one of the biggest parts of the process, is improving the craft. Okay, that's it for now. I know this was a very long video, I'm so sorry, but I had a lot to say about this. Okay, see you next week.